Thank you, and good to see you all here this evening on this very special occasion of launching Manjiri's book in the Austrian Ambassador's residence, which I must say is perfectly fitting because in this book an Indian writer has written an extended love letter to an Austrian city. I must say that the true hero of this novel is Salzburg, which comes across in great detail, lovingly depicted with tremendous, how can I put it, a tremendous evocation of the city's beauty, its architecture, its major landmarks, its history, and keeping the reader completely engaged with the city, since the mystery elements of the plot take you to different parts of the city. It was almost as if she was sponsored by the Austrian Tourist Board, but it should have been. It should have been. They missed the trick. It really is marvelous. First of all, there aren't too many sort of mystery/thriller writers in the Indian English language writing genre. We're seeing some extraordinary transformations. There was a time when there were just a handful of writers producing fiction in English. They were by and large accused of peddling Indian exotica to a Western audience. They wrote for perhaps a rarefied elite, had a fairly modest readership in terms of numbers. And then in the last 15 years or so, there's been a dramatic expansion, maybe 20, in which suddenly you're seeing not only the proliferation of Indian writing in English, but the multiplication of genres in the process. So instead of just one kind of sort of literary fiction, you're now finding Indian books right across the range. There's chick lit and rom-coms, there's popular bestsellers, there's mythological reinventions, there's all sorts of different kinds of writing also coming out. And Dan Brown has found his match, right? We now have an Indian author who has taken up the same challenge of creating a mystery with a number of clues, finding a protagonist to explore it, some local characters who bring the mystery alive, a lot of interest and action. I wouldn't say Agatha Christie, though I know that Manjiri says she read or has read a lot of Agatha Christie. I think that she has managed to keep the mystery elements going, but the closer parallel would appear to be something like Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, and that sort of book that really brings to life an entire era, an entire ethos, many ideas about, in this particular instance, a certain historical character who really did exist. Max Reinhardt is real, and she has made him really the person who creates the mystery that needs to be solved 75 years later. So it's an extraordinarily interesting book. I think that the other thing that's very curious about it is that Manjiri has set it in a foreign country and populated it with foreign characters. I think the principal investigator is half Indian, but with not much identification with India, unfortunately. However, that apart, India doesn't appear at all in the work. There is a flute, but it turns out to be Mozart's and not Lord Krishna's. But it's still striking that an Indian would choose to do that. I wondered for a while whether that would make it come across as somehow less credible. An Indian was writing with characters and situations, but in the novel, since what matters is the mystery and the thrill and so on, and the interior lives of human beings are usually not defined by their passports, I would argue that she's pulled it off, and that she's done it in a way that in all sorts of instances many will find quite compelling. I think that those who are regular readers of thrillers, adventures, and mysteries are going to turn to this book, but also those, I think, who will want to see what an Indian author has done with this extremely interesting idea and what she has been able to make of it. Potentially, an international readership should turn to this book. There's a marvelous little teaser trailer we were shown at the beginning suggests. I think that foreigners should be able to read this without worrying about who has written it. And at the same time, I hope an Austrian filmmaker will wake up to the extraordinary potential of this plot. It really seems to be something that could be a hugely successful and exciting film. So, having said all of that, congratulations, Manjiri. I must say that you have opened a new vista here. Bloomsbury, of course, is an international publisher, so perhaps they can bring this book to the attention of the rest of the world. And I wish Manjiri's book and all its backers great success and great international success. It will be a matter of great pride for all of us when an Indian writer is credited with bringing Salzburg to life. I've actually, by the way, participated in the Salzburg Global Seminar, so it was for me quite amusing to read about I don't think we ever had quite as distinguished an attendance as the characters in your book. All heads of state and government are coming to the Schloss, but I will say that it's a very clever conceit and very beautifully done. And now that I discover you were sitting there and writing it, all the more perhaps evocative for that. So let me again wish Manjiri and Bloomsbury all success with this book. Congratulations on writing it. I've been fairly lucky for the authors whose books are launched. So I did launch Amish Tripaঠি's first book. I launched Chetan Bhagat's second book. So Manjiri's, whatever number this is now, with your first international thriller, I hope that I can look back and say, well, I was there when Manjiri Prabhu launched this book in the Austrian Embassy. Thank you all very much. All the very best.